So time is always our problem. We have 7 minutes and 43, 42, 41, 40 seconds. So I think the best perhaps we could do would be to ask each of the three speakers to spend 2 minutes on what they take from the other speakers. Okay, so we will start, because after all, good conversations are conversations after which each one has modified at least slightly his or her viewpoints. So we'll start with Philippe. Pas plus de deux minutes. Hein?
Well, I think I was as short as possible in my introduction, and I will take from the last intervention. The business community is one of our most important partners in these G7 summits, and also the fact that what the leaders decide is important for the economy about the way we shape the conditions, the framework conditions for the economy. This is really important. And when I spoke about concrete conclusions, I meant also this dimension. And I think the business community, but also the social partners, have to be beyond the engagement groups, actively asked and interact with the leaders on the margins of these summits. And from a Korean colleague, and I remember our night, do you remember the night of discussions and negotiating the conclusions in Hamburg? And of course, he's completely right to say that there is a dilemma between the number of people in the room and the efficiency of your process. On the president of the elect president of the United States, he recalled also what happened. What we have been doing during the first mandate by President Trump on the climate was indeed to say that there was a disagreement, and we have arranged our conclusions in a way that everybody could see his position respected. But it did not prevent us to try to work in other domains on what we wanted to achieve. I remember the first summit with Donald Trump was in Taormina in Italy. There just had been a terrible terrorist attacks and in the UK, I think it was in Manchester. And we succeeded also to have a united conversation on this fight against terrorism. So it is always possible to find domains where we want to act together, even if there will be some points where we accept to disagree, even in points like the fight against climate change and the Paris Climate Agreement.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Hye-min?
I think Ambassador Etienne stressed the importance of informality and responsibility of the G7 groupings. But as I mentioned in my presentation, it conflicts with their legitimacy, you see. Who have ever asked them to do it in an informal way? It is related to the point raised by Mr. Litman, transparency. You know, especially the business world or the academics, people want to know how this kind of decision has made by leaders. So I think that is the big questions.
Merci beaucoup. Gary?
Well, all I can say is that, we see the power of the state growing from crisis to crisis, and having informal fora like G7, G20, where personalities are sometimes more visible than the institutions, seems to be a sign of the times. So in a way, we feel that G7 and G20 remain very relevant as signals how those personalities can work together and overcome or not institutional challenges and find new ways of talking to the markets, to the private sector, and work together, because they have to deal with global problems that are not going away just because personalities differ. So we're not going to be reading every comma in every paper that will be produced, but it does not mean that these four are not insignificant. And they don't take away from established institutions like the World Bank or WTO, OECD, IMF. They have their own life, but they have extraordinary staff and path dependency, because these are real institutions. They ground the conversations. But I'm afraid that we're entering the moment when personalities will matter more, and that will just compel us to pay more attention to these informal meetings.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Thank you very much to the three speakers. I think it was an interesting discussion, a lot of food for thought. Unfortunately, as always, we don't have time to go as far as we would like, but I remember a French politician who told me once that after a good meal, it's better to stop when being still a little bit hungry. It's the same for discussions, So we will have other opportunities to deepen these sort of questions, which also fit very well with the agenda of the World Policy Conference. So merci beaucoup à tous, je ne dirais pas à toutes.
Merci.
Et maintenant, on continue une autre table ronde. Merci. Alors, les photos.